What's good, everybody? Welcome to another exciting episode of Full Circle. I'm your host, as always, Harmon Jr. Please feel free to find me at Harmon Jr. on all your favorite social media website. All right, people. We got a big topic today, but we're gonna address it first. You're gonna know what it is. I'm pretty sure you probably know if you're guessing. But then we're gonna pad it with some good stuff because I'm all about balance. Namaste. But I have a very special guest today to show. It is not his first time here, but it's his first time as someone who has ascended the mountain, been through the trials and tribulations, walked through the desert for 40 years and came out the other side. It is the one, the only, Marcus Stewart. How are you doing today, sir?
Hey, I'm doing great. I survived the desert. I had it easier than Moses because I was by myself, so it's like the social pressure off of leading. Like, how many people did he have? And it's like it wasn't so much the heat that made it worse. It's like, oh man, I got to drag these people with me. I'm fine. I love this walk, but I have to make sure that they're happy.
All right, got you. So, Marcus, real quick, just in case people don't understand why I gave you that big speech, who are you? And now, what do you do?
All right, I am an associate editor at Game Informer. We are a gaming outlet as well as a magazine, the largest print magazine in the world. Last time I checked, you can get us at your local GameStop. If you ever got a Power Up membership, that's the little book that they give you. And I've been like Odell mentioned, I've been on the show before when I was in my freelancer days. God, should I run through my?
Go ahead, do it. The floor is yours.
All right. I mean, I'll keep this short. It's long, but I've been writing about games since 2011. Started out as a blogger, like most of us probably do. Blogged for free for a long time on my personal blog, and then eventually wrote for free at like small outlets, different small sites. Eventually got an internship at Game Informer in 2015, and then after that wrapped up, continued to just blog, freelance where I could. I was never like a prolific freelancer. Like I wasn't like all over IGN or GameSpot or anything like that. But I did write one thing for Paste. It was a really fun Arnold Schwarzenegger list. And but I wrote for like The Gamer, I wrote for Screen Rant for a while. I did a few pitches for Even Hard Drive, did some fun satire stuff for them, and started at Game Informer last October 2020 is when I started, and it's been great. 9 years in the making, trying to get here. So persistence.
That is what's up, sir. Definitely well deserved on your part. I am glad, as I've said many times before, you have ascended to the mountaintop.
Thank you. It's weird. It's something I'm still only kind of used to. And I always try not to think of it like that. But yeah, I mean, it was the exact place I'd been working towards. So it's that wow, I did it. Okay, I'm allowed to enjoy this sometimes.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit.
A little bit.
Well, Marcus, thank you for joining me on this show. Returning as always, it's a pleasure. And so, everybody, we got some fun stuff for you this week by just I don't know what to call it, but we're going to be talking about what games do we want to see revived and make their sequel, one of the two, because we recently got the Saints Row remake announcement. Psychonauts 2 finally came out after 13 years or something since the original release, a long time. So we're going to be talking about what games we want to see make that triumphant return after being MIA for so long, or just it's the season of remasters, people. Like, don't gripe about it. We all love them because we buy them constantly. That's why they keep making them. But before that, we're going to be talking about esports. That little thing that's not a big thing, especially if you play like League of Legends or, any MOBA or, Call of Duty or Battlefield or, they're just insane now. But there's now new esports for Stardew Valley. Yes, we have reached that level of the game. And we're going to be talking about how else can we get in on this cash money-making machine. But before that, we are going to be talking about Fortnite. And yes, people, we have talked about Fortnite for so many reasons these past couple of weeks. And, you know, they've all been bad, but kind of funny, but kind of bad also, you know, especially with the Among Us thing and then the Ariana Grande thing. And now we got Mike Lowry from Bad Boys in Fortnite, which I wish that was the topic because that's kind of fun. You like Mike Lowry, Mike. You like a Mike Lowry type of guy. You're from Florida.
Where's Martin Lawrence? Why is he getting shafted, though?
I don't know. Maybe I don't know.
I feel like you would want them both as a package. That's just me. You know, that's my business sense.
I mean, it's the ultimate duo team. Like,
yeah.
You run duos with them. Like, could you imagine the whole duos map is just both of them? Like, everybody, because it just makes too much sense.
Yeah. Ride together, you die together.
It writes itself. But no, so continuing with the Fortnite headlines, they decided to have an interactive Martin Luther King Jr. event in the game. And before, this was a topic of like, we see the goodness, you know, you get to walk through, see this memorial, see his speech, learn stuff about civil rights in his life. And people were talking about, is this the right place to do this? How's it going to go? All the potential bad that can happen. And if we were recording this podcast like 3 days ago, we'll be having that same topic. And we kind of will. But guess what? Everything went horribly wrong. Just it's the ways you can't make up, Marcus. Before I get your opinion, I just want to let the people know. So people thought, you know, should we be doing something like this where you can dress up in goofy costumes and possibly do dances like, you know, flossing, the nay-nay, and all the other dances that you can do in Fortnite. And then, you know, Fortnite was like, okay, yeah, we're not going to, you can still be, you know, Rick and Morty or any wacky, zany character, but, you know, we're going to disable the emotes because that was going to be a problem. Some emotes made it. So I'm just going to give you the facts, people. I'm not going to say this was on purpose. I'm not going to say this was intentional. Let's just deal with the facts for right now. So for reasons, I don't know, contractual agreements, programming things, I don't know. All the emotes got disabled except for one. Except for one, Marcus. And it was a Wonder Woman emote that had to stay in because legality, who knows? And Marcus, I don't know if you know. I am literally asking you, not rhetorical question. Do you know what the Wonder Woman emote is?
I don't, and I'm trying to think of what would
right,
be
cool.
bad. The only thing I could think of is her maybe doing this or something.
No, cool, because, hey, if you're not watching the YouTube, if you're an audio listener, you know, maybe pause it and go to the YouTube for this so we can get Marcus' natural reaction. The Wonder Woman emote is her pulling out her lasso and cracking the whip.
I'm sorry, that's a terrible reaction, but that's hilarious. And how
emote that made it that did not get blocked was that emote.
It's almost like hilarious and how how perfectly unfortunate that is. Like, what are the odds that would be the one that, like, well, we can't take this off due to contractual reasons, and it happens to be like the worst spot of again, Wonder Woman, who's like an unoffensive character, like she does a lot of things. You're like, oh, I'm sure. What could Wonder Woman do that would be a problem? And that is the one thing it turns out.
That is the so Marcus, again, not rhetorical. Can you gander what happened and what people started to do when visiting the MLK interactive event in Fortnite?
So to clarify, I don't play Fortnite. When they do the emote, does it pull out a whip, or is it just like a whip?
It pulls out a whip. Technically, it is the lasso.
Okay, but there is a rope.
There is a rope, and it is thrown in a rhythmic whipping fashion.
Okay, well, I guess nice attention to detail there, I guess. But let's see. Gosh, what could go wrong there? I mean, were they whipping the screen that was showing it, or the exhibits, or maybe characters that were black or appeared?
The answer would be D, all of the above. I don't know about the characters who are black, but I mean, I wouldn't be surprised or hard pressed to believe that.
It's like, was Mike Lowry getting whipped?
Oh God, I hope not. I mean, probably, but I hope not. So, Marcus, before we delve into clearly everything went wrong in the worst possible way, let's start with how do you feel? How did you feel when you first heard about the event? Just, you know, before it went live, I'm pretty sure you heard that Fortnite was doing this. What was your first reactions to it?
Yeah, I actually wrote the news story for this.
Oh, well, there you go. Even better.
It was that initial thing where I saw like the tweet, and your first thought is like, oh god, because I think what everyone's first reaction was that they make a skin of him and you can go around killing people as MLK, and like I made it a point. Once I read what it actually was, I made it a point in my news story to be like to immediately address that, like I know what you're thinking, and it's not that. Thank God. And then once I found out what it was, because it's, if you're not aware, it's a collaboration with Time, as in Time Magazine. But I guess they're like their film studio or something, where it's like apparently it's based on an interactive museum exhibit that opened up in Chicago recently. I don't remember the museum, and it's kind of an extension of that because a lot of the same partners are involved with this Fortnite thing. And when I read more about it, and it's like, hey, it's a non-competitive, non-violent mode. It's literally you are in a recreated version of the National Mall and the Lincoln Memorial, and you're watching the entirety of the I Have a Dream speech, and doing kind of like cooperative mini games to like teach you about, the March on Washington for Jobs and Freedom, which the anniversary passed recently, which is what this was for. It was like, you know what? That's fine, I guess. And the mindset I had for it was like, when I was a kid, I remember doing like interactive CD-ROMs and stuff that taught you about like Martin Luther King and just like history, stuff like that in general. And it's like, all right, I guess this is kind of the natural evolution of that. Like, this is that for this generation. Like, so I was like, I don't want to be the curmudgeon-y, like, what? Because I'm sure like parents back then, when I was learning that stuff that way, they were like, what? Why would you learn? And it's like, well, that's just how you reach kids now. And it's like, okay, that's smart in the sense of like you'll hit a big audience of mostly young people, but like, I mean, for them to like, 'cause I read, what was it, like the next day or 2 days later, that they were like, oh, we got to disable emotes because for some reason nobody thought, like, I guess we don't know our audience as well as we thought we did. We didn't think that we should probably do that from the start. At least they did it as quick as they did, but it was like I don't know why you wouldn't think to like not have anyone do anything that wasn't just standing around, basically. I saw in the trailer, have you actually dived in and like checked it out?
So I don't play Fortnite like you, but I just went to YouTube, someone who walked around and did it. So I was like, oh, let me see what it's like before I pass, judgment. I was like, oh, okay. I think it should have been like, like I said, there's quests you can do to unlock certain things.
Yeah.
And I think there should have been, I mean, it's a give and take, but I feel like it should have just been a walking exhibit. You just exist, like you can't do anything. And I remember watching it. Okay, nothing crazy happened. I looked up videos of the horribleness. We'll get to that later. But I remember thinking that one thing I would have done personally is had like a default blank avatar. Like, cause like it was still kind of jarring. Like no one was doing anything crazy in this particular video, but like seeing certain characters just like, it looked odd. So I would have been thinking like everyone enters as like a blank avatar, like some kind of just gender neutral, like mannequin doll in a suit or something. I don't know. Some type of just neutral, plain, unoffensive avatar, and you just kind of walk around and exist as that. I remember thinking when I saw that I was like, that was the only change I would have made.
Yeah, because it was weird watching that trailer, and it's like, this looks like a weird like Coachella concert that happens to be the I Have a Dream speech, because you see everyone in these ridiculous outfits, and it's like, on the only defense for that, it's like, okay, like I can see wanting to let people still express their individuality and to have as many different types of players as possible, because I see that being in their minds, like that's in the spirit of what this is, of like, hey, whatever you're into, whatever weird thing that you're into, you can all gather around here and be treated equally, because that's what this man fought for. So if you want to wear your weird banana suit because you're Mr. Banana guy and that's just what you like, we're not going to take that away from you. I probably would have aired more to what you were saying, Odell, of like, what if you just made everyone look like people of the time? Like you just went full on period piece.
Oh, that'd be kind of cool, actually.
And you're just walking around in 1960s suits and hats, and you almost basically recreate that moment in the game, but with real people.
Yeah, you're the giant crowd watching the speech. Yeah, you're on to something with that one. I like that.
Yeah. And then let people pick their gender and color, because then if you do your job and disable anything that could be remotely hostile, you shouldn't and couldn't be attacked, because like, that guy's black. I'm gonna Wonder Woman whip him.
Oh,
so like, you could let people be like, hey, I'm a Latino man. Okay, be that. And then everyone just gathers around and just basically chills the hell out and enjoys the interactive exhibit. So I think the idea on paper is fine. I think, it was executed, I'd say 80% of the way fine. I'd say it's mostly they did an all right job with it. It's like the things that were a problem felt more like things that like either thoughtlessness or just kind of slipped through the cracks of like, no one, I guess we didn't consider contracts with our license stuff, which is why, again, if we did what we were suggesting, like, nobody is anything. You're just 1960s lady. So you don't have a whip or you don't have anything special. You're clapping. That's your emote. It's clapping, basically.
Yeah, there you go. It's just and so, okay, my thing is, I want to preface this with, I truly believe this was obviously done with the best intentions. Obviously,
Sure.
And it's one of those things where, like you said, I don't want to be the old guy. We're in our 30s now, and be like, technology, that's not how you do it. You got to meet the people where they are. That's where the children are. And I'm from Texas, where we recently passed. Well, I say we, but the powers that be passed it where learning about civil rights is basically optional now. You ain't got to learn about Martin Luther King Jr. You ain't got to learn about slavery. You ain't got to learn about, which I think
KKK might not have been monsters.
Yeah, that's asinine. That's my stance on it. I'm not changing it. So I think like, oh, okay. Well, hell, where I live, a kid might legit, depending on where he lives, clearly, like, you're in a city and there's minorities around, you're probably going to learn about it. But, like, if he's, like, in small country town Texas, and the powers that be literally like, we're never going to teach our kids this. Well, look, now, he plays Fortnite probably, so now he's getting that education that the system has failed him in a place where he will be and, get to experience and learn that. And I think, like, okay, yeah, so, that's a great evolution of things, like you said, well-intended. And I want to believe in my heart that, this was good. But on the same side of that coin, it's like, you give people a chance to, show their behind, so to speak. And 9 times out of 10, they will show their behind. That's why, we have police stationed at sports rallies, because some guy wants to run across the field or, attack an athlete. We hope people do the best, but, we don't live in, happy-go-lucky time. So you always have to plan for things going awry. Yeah. And I just feel like just to be blunt, like, did I think this was going to go off without a hitch? Hell no. Just people were going to find a way. Even if they had to mod and hack the game, they were going to find a way, and I wasn't going to put that on the develop. You live and learn, you get better for next time. But I just feel like so many people were hoping this went as good as possible, and Epic just kind of let us down because, okay, I don't know the contractual agreements. I don't know what truly happened. I wasn't there. But my thing is, if one, emote should have been gone before this opened to the public. Just, it blows my mind that they weren't. Like,
yeah, like that's just an oversight. Like, yeah. It's like you guys are maybe giving your audience a little too much credit, or just nobody thought. Like,
yeah,
which is maybe worse.
Yeah, I'm gonna use the word negligence because that's how I honestly feel. That was negligent on their part. All right, cool. Crap, it's already done. Too many videos, TikTok, screw it. Within 24 hours, it's fixed. Okay. You dropped the ball there, but then it's like, so you're telling me that whatever ramifications there were, you're telling me that y'all had to leave one emote in. Like, someone had to know. Like, someone had to be like, oh, we can't take off this emote because reasons. Like, it almost, to me, feels intentional because I just feel like someone just had to be like, we're better off leaving all the emotes on than having only this one acceptable. Like, it feels like almost like you gave a lit firecracker to a baby and was just like, it's gonna work out.
Especially from Epic. I mean, if they're so worried about honoring that contract, they've shown they have no problem breaking contracts if your name's Apple. Am I right?
Oh, hi-oh. Comment of the day goes to Marcus Stewart, people.
It's like, oh, this is the one that you're like, well, we got to keep the whip emotes. Can't Warner Brothers will kill us.
Hey, you know, I don't know. I don't know, but I'm just like, because I read some spoke about, you know, I'm kind of not convinced it's true, because I'm like, okay, from the DC event, so none of the other superhero emotes, you know, those were, I don't know. Let's just all agree it was bad.
Yeah, like, I don't want to say that it was left in there intentionally with ill intent. I think it was one of those things of like, they realized like, hey, we can't do anything about this, and instead of maybe pressing the issue with Warner Brothers, say like, hey, I know we have this like written and inked, but also this would be a bad look. Can you make an exception? Like, you know, doing the work to make sure that is not there. I seem like, again, I don't work for either company. I'm not a businessman, but it feels like if you sat them down and explained it from that angle, like, listen, for this one thing, because of these reasons, would it be cool if we just, you know, disabled it? I would have a hard time believing Warner Brothers would be like, well, no, we got to keep it.
Yeah, and my thing is, it's just the mode. Like, you know, it's not like it's gone from the game. It's gone from, you know, this
temporarily. Like, when they step in this zone, nothing works for these reasons. Yeah. And, you know, it seemed like it would be in both parties' best interest to have things like, hey, it'd probably be cool if you don't want Wonder Woman associated with something like that. So if for no other reason than like a PR perspective, you probably should play ball with us here. And who knows, maybe those talks did happen and Warner Brothers put their foot down. We don't know.
We don't know. We honestly don't. And, you know, so one of the things I find interesting about this is just, okay, a lot of this is also on the people. I'm not gonna say this problem was 100% with Epic Fortnite. You know, clearly, you know, it's people at the end of the day who are choosing to do these things. And it made me think about that, especially for this generation. So Marcus, we're both in our 30s, past 30. You know, we are officially 30 and a number, not 0. And I was thinking that, so the problem is with this, I feel like, is one, it has to be handled sensitively, and, you know, it kind of blew up, sadly. But I think the reason people are so willing to mock this, even though they know they shouldn't, and of course, yes, I know it's teenagers and kids, and they haven't reached a certain level of maturity, and, you know, or they're just horrible people, but I'll give them some benefit of the doubt, kind of, is that people so far removed from this, they think it's a long time ago, but it's really not, because, okay, for us, someone my age, we like to think this was long ago, but like my grandmother, who was all of 65 years old, lived through desegregation. Like, she was 17 or 18 when schools desegregated, basically like her last year of school. So she got to deal, and, you know, my grandma's 65. So if you really put that in, you know, perspective, it was not long ago by any stretch of the imagination, like, at all. You know, many people are still well and alive who lived through this. You know, they're not like, you know, 108 or nothing like that. And so if it feels so far removed for us, I can only imagine, you know, people a generation or two younger than us. And, you know, and I just think these topics are still just so sensitive and, you know, real and visceral that going forward, that, you know, I don't want to, hopefully this discourage things from like this, because, you know, it is important, but it has to be done. That there's no ifs, ands, buts about it. You just kind of have to put your foot down with these things. You can't give people the freedom to be creative, or I don't know to say take away people's, you know, right to show any type of individuality, but it's almost kind of like you have to be 100% just thumb on someone's neck when it comes to these things, because you can't afford to give anyone an inch and have them take that mile.
It's the old, and this is maybe a terrible analogy for what we're talking about, but I'll say it anyway. It's you want to take as many bullets out of the chamber as possible from people, right?
Yeah.
Before you get like any possible thing that could go wrong for something like this, excuse me, you should address it. Like, just do we think this could be a problem? Let's just assume the worst. Like, maybe not, but let's assume the worst. Let's err on the side of caution here. Like, because again, and that's just being familiar with not just your audience, but just people in general, like on the internet and in this age of anonymity and, you know, people are idiots. At the end of the day, people are racist, idiots, jerks that will always, there's always going to be those people that will try to rain on the parade, no matter what that parade is. They're going to find some way to screw it up. And you just got to, you know, it's that few bad apples spoil the bunch kind of thing. So it's like, because of the potential actions of a few, we kind of have to quote unquote punish everyone just to make sure that we preserve the intent of what we're doing. You know, I don't think people would care that they couldn't floss in front of the Lincoln Memorial. You know, they'd be like, why can't I do my dance? It's like, well, because this isn't Galactus swallowing up Fortnite. This isn't Ariana Grande stomping around. It's a very different thing. So it should be treated differently than that. And it has been mostly, like I said, it's like, it feels like they got like 75, 80% of the way there. So that's still good, but the last like 20% or so is what they kind of slipped up on, you know?
Yeah, like when you laughed at learning the news, you know, it's not because you think it's hilarious, but it's such an egregious error or unfortunate series of events. It's just literally comical. You know, it's the whole, if I'm not laughing, I would cry, because it's just like such a combination of things.
Yeah,
that is you know, it's unreal. And I guess,
but not surprising either. Like, when I heard, it's like, yeah, that doesn't shock me at all, unfortunately.
Yeah, and so, you know, I guess, you know, this is philosophical. You know, we're I guess we're moving past the exact incident, but going forward, do you think games should try to emulate this again, or is this just maybe really not the space to do those type of things? Maybe just, you know, have a video or press like an interactive event in a game space. Is that something that you think going forward games could realistically do in a quote unquote honorable fashion?
I think so. I'll steal a quote from my coworker Blake Hester, who he's always said he firmly believes that games or any artist should be able to tackle any subject matter. Now, whether or not they have the chops to do it, that's a different story. But whether or not they can, I think anyone should be allowed to do anything for the most part. And it's like I said, I think this almost got there, and I think that other people can do this better. And if nothing else, this is a good example of like, hey, if we want to do this again, here's what not to do to really get like 100% of the way there. But like I said, I think, like we said, the intent behind it is admirable, and I get logically of like, hey, we want to reach out to kids, and where do kids hang out now? This is one of the big spaces to like reach them. If like, honestly, someone pointed out a thing that's like almost kind of, I don't want to say sad or hilarious, but it's like true. And it's like, there's gonna be like, odds are kids will retain this knowledge here better than they would in a textbook. And it's like, probably, honestly, because you're speaking their language. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like, is that bad necessarily just because they didn't learn it maybe the right way? It's like, I don't know, but it's better than nothing, right? If they're not gonna, especially now, if, like you mentioned with your school system in Texas and other places, if they're trying to get away from that, and game companies are being like, no, this is important. If we can't get it where they're supposed to get it, then we'll hit them with it where they're choosing to go, right?
Yeah.
So I don't think, I think that can be done. It just needs to be thought out. And I know there's a perfect way to do this somewhere. I don't know about every game. You know, I don't think you could do this like in a single player game necessarily, like God of War having a Martin Luther King event suddenly, but like big live service games with like mass audiences wherever you like that, spaces that are already communal by, you know, design. Sure, as long as it's presented the right way, if it's marketed the right way, if it doesn't come off as if there's an earnestness behind it. Like Epic working with time helps a lot. Like, it wasn't like they trusted themselves to do this right. Like, they hooked up with an outlet that is, you know, already put museum exhibits together. Like, they got people that know what they're doing basically to do it. So that showed kind of like a commitment to getting this right. than if they had just said like, "Yeah, we can do this on our own. We know MLK and how to present this. We make the Fortnite." um, you know,
I'd have
so,
loved to been in that board meeting, just like that.
so like I said, like if they're willing to put in the work and really figure out how do we get this done, that I don't see why not. I think because I've seen clips of it, and it's like this is cool, and I think I'm ultimately glad that this exists. That if it hadn't happened at all, it just needed to be tightened up in some spots, you know?
Yeah. I will add this before we leave the topic that Epic did start banning players who use the whip emoji in the interactive museum exhibit, whatever you want to call it. So I don't know if it was a lifetime ban or I would have preferred a lifetime ban. I don't know, but they did start banning people. So at least there was some effort, some on their part, an attempt to stop this from happening. But
accountability.
But yeah, that happened. But
that thing's lasting for a year, I think, too.
Yeah, it's just I really think and the reason I think it's possible, I remember Apex Legends had a mode. It was actually fun where like everyone was training dummies, like and you got like random powers, like you got like the random like loadout of like a legend. So you picked your color and you're just like a blue training dummy, like they all look the same minus the colors, and you just ran around as that, like your team of 3 training dummies. And I was like, okay, yeah, so there's something like that's possible. Again, I'm not saying be a blank dummy in this, but I like your idea of like be a person of the period.
Yeah,
and I think that's like you say, you choose your race, nationality, ethnicity, what have you, and then you're all there. So there's still some remnants of I'm representing who I am as a person experiencing this. And I will choose. I don't personally believe, but I will choose to take your sentiment of, Epic one, like they wanted people to have their individuality experiencing this, to quote the good book, come as you are, and whatever walk of life you take or partake in who you are. So like, I get it, so, and again, I'm choosing to believe that was the best intentions. And I will reiterate, we knew there was gonna be some cracks, but like my goodness, never did I imagine they were gonna be this egregious.
Again, it's that it's so perfectly unfortunate that it's almost funny, but you're almost laughing because you don't want to cry, because it's just like, of course that would be the one thing that of all like the bad luck or whatever you want to call it, of all the things we couldn't take out, it couldn't be Wonder Woman giving a thumbs up. It had to be that one.
Yeah. But so I do have some good news for Stardew players, because Stardew is a great, out of all the sim farming life, whatever you want to call them, games, they've like, they've evolved from just, farming into like just a whole lifestyle. I'll call it lifestyle games. The sim games that aren't the Sims. They're extremely popular. They're not my cup of tea. Animal Crossing got me, but COVID. So what else was I gonna do besides cut down trees? But Farmville has now entered the esports arena. Yes, people, there is now. Oh, excuse me, Stardew Valley.
Farmville?
Yeah, I said Farmville.
2007.
Excuse me, people. Excuse me. Stardew Valley has now entered the esports arena with prize pools up to $40,000.
I had to do a double take when I read that, because I thought they meant 20,000, whatever the in-game currency is in that game. I have not played Stardew Valley, but I was like, wow, 40,000 real dollars. Okay,
40,000 real dollars.
That's a pot.
Yeah, that is a pot. I'm not gonna lie. Like, I mean, you might be thinking, well, compared to the $1 million prize pools of the biggest esports out there, but I'm like, no, 40K for I'm not gonna lie. I don't know how I'm not sure how it works. I read the rules, but I'm not a Stardew Valley player, so I'm just kind of like, oh, okay. Things you do in the game and you do them well. But the part I love about it is that the first official esports competition is called the Stardew Valley Cup, which is just perfect.
Simple.
makes me think it's Mario Kart, but like not in an insulting way.
Yeah, sounds like it would be a a Mario Kart Cup. Like you got the Star Cup, you got the Special Cup, and you got the Stardew Valley Cup, the Stardew Cup, if you will. I'd
Yeah,
race there.
yeah, I would completely race there. Sounds like a good leisurely time. And so, Marcus, I asked you, it's fun. We always have this conversation, right? Of like, is gaming a sport? Is mobile gaming real gaming? And we've had these conversations, and they evolved over the years. And now, I think the question is now, can any game be an esport?
I mean,
I guess short answer, yes.
If you're, it's crazy because like there's competitive Catherine. I remember when I found out that the game Catherine, which if you're not aware is basically like a romance puzzle game, that a competitive scene formed around that. And I think if the willpower is there by the fan base, they will a competitive element into any game because that's exactly what happened with Catherine, to the point that when they re-released Catherine like a couple of years ago, they added a mode to accommodate that, to appease those fans. For Stardew Valley, I'm only mad that I haven't played Stardew Valley, which has been on my backlog for years now. It's one of those games when it first came out, and I'm not even a Farm Harvest Moon guy, but hearing the buzz around it made me want to try it. And I remember like when it came out on PC, I was like, oh, I think I'll try it. And then when it got ported to PS4, I was like, okay, now I'll try it. And then when it came to Switch, I was like, okay, for real, that's what I've been waiting for, a Switch version. I still haven't bought it. If I bought it when I first said I would, I might be good enough to compete in this cup, and I could be winning $40,000 as part of the peach pastries, whatever the teams are called, like the silver monkeys, the red jaguars,
the purple parrots.
Yeah, it's something like that. They're going for. But yeah, like, and I don't think this was a product of the fans though, right? I mean, I don't follow the Stardew scene. I don't think this is something that was like an underground thing that the creator just gave in. It seems like that was their idea.
See, that's the crazy part, because like, who would think there was an underground Stardew scene to even follow to begin with? Like,
was it? I couldn't tell if I don't know if this was a thing that existed or if they just decided it did suddenly.
I don't know. Like the news was announced, and I was just kind of like, that's there. Like, yeah, it's happening. And now that you said that, part of me thinks is like, you go to like a shady part of town, you give like the bouncer $100, like, yeah, I'm here for the Stardew Cup. It's like, what's the password? I don't know. I don't know enough Stardew terms to come up with something clever, but and it's all these seedy but kind of not seedy people being like, yo man, let's see the crops. And then like like I don't know how the judging commences.
Like, how fast can you get these turnips up or something? But like, I would say, again, as someone that's not played the game and I'm not in the scene, I could see the blowback from the community in a sense of, from everything I've heard about the game, I've had it described as like one of the most chill, just relaxing games out there. Like, just such a fun game to just unwind with, that I could see the worry that if this thing takes off, does that maybe ruin the spirit of what Stardew Valley is, if it suddenly becomes people being more focused with like, I gotta be the fastest carrot grower so I can win the $40 or $40,000, I should say, than like, hey, I just want to chill out, either by myself or with a buddy, and just let's get our town going. Let's just get things going. Now, granted, that doesn't mean you have, even if it does take off, it doesn't mean you have to engage with that part of the community. Doesn't take away the fact that you can still treat it as your leisure chill out game. But it depends on, like, again, if this takes off, do they start doing things or adding features that accommodate that more? Like, it reminds me of Street Fighter Five when that launched. That's an inherently competitive game, but the problem with Street Fighter Five at launch, and one of the reasons I still have not played it to this day, despite being a big Street Fighter game fan, is that they leaned too hard into the esports side of the fandom when it launched, because it had like no story mode. Like, it was esports.
It was bare bones. You just fight and that's it.
Yeah, like it was catering to the esports crowd, because Street Fighter's the biggest fighting game in esports. But it left out the majority of the fans, which are just like people like me. I'm like, oh, I love fighting games, but not to that degree. And I just want to get in there and fight with my friends and do the story mode and do all that stuff. So it's like, I had no reason to buy it until like, well, when you add that stuff in, come talk to me. And then for me, that never happened. But so it's like, when you cater to like that aspect of the fandom, that might not be the majority, does that end up spoiling it for the majority? I'm not saying Stardew will. I'm just saying that I could see the worry from fans of like maybe it has the potential to. And I don't know if there's an outcry over this from fans. I'm just knowing what I know about how internet fandoms work. I'm making an educated guess that it probably has ruffled some feathers.
Yeah, no doubt, no doubt. I think it's one of those quirky and cool things about our industry. But I remember way back in the day, like I was in middle school, I think I was watching True Life on MTV, and it was like True Life, I'm a Gamer, which sounds so surreal now. Like whoa, you're a gamer, whoa, in 2001 or whatever year.
You play Nintendo?
And it was different stories. Basically, what it should have said is, True Life, I'm a competitive gamer, because all the stories were following competitive. Well, when now considered, before esports, people just had to meet up at places and just people forget that Evo was started out basically a bunch of people sitting in front of a tube TV. It wasn't no big, what a big to do in Vegas. It was just kind of like the first couple of Evos, the infamous Street Fighter moment with Daigo in Street Fighter Third Strike, where he blocks, I don't know if Daigo was Chun-Li or Ken, but the moment was when Ken blocks the entire super from Chun-Li, and the crowd loses their mind, and he ends up winning. That was a very cramped room with a very small TV by today's comparison, and and that was that. But anyway, long story short, these gamers would go to one guy was in New York, and I remember he would literally go to a CD location, it was a $40 entry fee, and they all played Melee. And it was for big cash pools. And it's just weird to think that esports literally started out like that. Basically, people paying, I guess, one of the guys was saying, I guess where he was, that was technically illegal gambling. So they had to be hush hush about it, because they've been raided by the cops before, and the money taken. And I'm geez.
The thing of Prohibition era, we were making Melee in our bathtubs. And then the man came. The feds showed up. They arrested us with our own GameCube controllers.
So to see it go from, cash pool prizes in dark alleys to Stardew Valley having a $40,000 pot is just insane to me. I can't describe it any other way.
You know what they should do, now that we said pot, is that they need to present the winnings in an actual pot, because that would fit the theme of the game, right? Like a little flower pot, just full of money, or I guess maybe just a check. That'd probably be a safer thing to do. But regardless, it needs to be presented in an actual flower pot. I assume that's a Stardew thing. If it's not, it should be. That is my advice to the Stardew Valley team. I have just saved your fledgling esport. You're welcome.
You're welcome. All right. Real quick, Marcus, before we go on, just give me the wildest game you would love to see as an esport. Just something. It could be on brand. It doesn't have to be just something obscene, but a game that would just floor you to see an esport of.
Gone Home. Competitive. How long can you discover that your family is getting parents are divorcing?
That would be insane. The story narrative games. What do we call them after Walking Dead made them uber popular, or Telltale as a whole?
Oh, what
is that genre called?
Cinematic choose your own adventure.
Yeah,
thing.
I don't even know how competitive that. Make the best choices. Right,
competitive Wolf Among Us. Or you know what you should do? You should do competitive Until Dawn, and the challenge is to see if you can get all those teenagers to the end alive. Whoever ends with the most survivors. Because that's an actual challenge.
Oh, that'd be interesting. Oh yeah, I guess to make it real, you would have to do a game or a DLC that no one's played, and everyone has to play it at the same time. And it's just that would be actually kind of cool, because you're seeing the choices made in real time in a story no one knows is going to happen. And
There you go.
Yeah, there's no that.
And you can play teams with that too, because those games were made for like passing the controller. Everybody's an assigned character. Like I'm Steven. And so like just because you make good choices doesn't mean Joe, who's playing as Stephanie, doesn't screw up and get her head chopped off. And you're like, oh, you cost us a crew member.
Oh man, I didn't even think about you. Everyone, you have a whole. Oh man, I think we're on to something.
Let's go. Competitive, Supermassive. Hit us up. You got House of Ashes coming out. Think you can make a competitive mode out of that? Just saying.
Ooh, you could. You know, I thought I was trying to think of something clever, but then all my games were like stuff that's already competitive anyway. So I'm like, I'm bad at this.
Mortal Kombat. Have they tried to do that yet?
How about this? A new competitive esports where it's the developers versus the developer. My first challenge: who can make a decent Sonic game? Go.
Oh, like a game jam.
Yeah.
Basically, right? It's like I thought you meant like actual developers fighting each other. Like, and I was like, I would also like to see like Hideo Kojima versus Randy Pitchford. Like it's Hideo's CQC training versus Randy's magic.
Celebrity, not quite death match. We don't want it in the or developer semi-death.
It's Gabe Newell and his knife collection. He finally gets to use it in a practical application.
I would pay to see that. No lie. No lie.
There you go. When the world falls apart and we have to institute Thunderdome rules, we'll do that.
Is there competitive Minecraft? That sounds like that's a thing.
I don't think as an official esport, to my knowledge, but
I mean, yeah,
I'm sure it probably exists like in a small scene, right?
Yeah, there's still, again, seedy people going to seedy places, paying seedy money to win it all.
It's always like the weird, like I've never been to an Evo, but I've heard the stories about like it's always the weird like the rooms that have like the weird little scenes for games that are so obscure. Like that's where Competitive Catherine was born. It was one of those rooms where like 20 people were in there that were into this. Like there's always that room where somebody has done something weird with a game to make it competitive that like 15 people know about. So maybe that's where mine is.
Yeah, I know Nintendo would never make it a thing because I'm pretty sure Nintendo is against esports to some capacity. Like, I don't know if that's true, but that feels true, right?
It feels like anything that is not their hosted branded esport is bad. They'll do their own stuff. Like they did Splatoon tournaments and Smash and stuff, but like,
those weren't for money or nothing, right? That was just for like bragging rights, right?
I don't remember. I feel like they got money. I mean, but they've been doing that since the 80s with like the world championships and stuff. Yeah. But like
those kids didn't
always
get money, did they? Did they get money?
I think the world championships they totally got money, or like vacations or something worth money. I think they did. And
they got like a showcase.
Yeah, and they got to be famous, which is its own reward.
Yeah, that's right.
Maybe. Yeah. But yeah, they're always weird about anyone else like Evo or any outside thing that wants to do like have their game like, hey, we want to do Smash. They've always been hot and cold, or sometimes they're cool, and then randomly they'll be like, no. And you're like, okay, last year you were cool. We don't know why this is a problem this year, but okay.
Yeah, I would love to see competitive Mario Kart like at an official like esports, and not for the races, but just for the rage. I feel like they would have to have like a referee there. Like not because someone's gonna attack someone, but like just because I feel like people would just rage. Like if you just had 12 real people in a race in an arena, like the antics would be endless.
I want to see competitive Mario Kart, but everyone's hooked up to those super expensive like racing simulators where you're in the cockpit that you see for like the big like Gran Turismo. Like I want that level of seriousness applied to Mario Kart where someone is just totally jacked in and they're like moving knobs and stuff, but they have to make it special because it's Mario Kart and it's weapons, so they have to have like weapon buttons and they have to be, and I want them shaped like the item of like I want like a comically like sized red shell that they're like pushing to fire it and stuff, and I want them to take it so seriously and because that would just make it more funny because it's juxtaposed with goofy Mario Kart.
Oh yeah,
somebody do that.
I agree. So you know me, Marcus. Like I'm not a big cursing guy. That's not me. I'm not perfect, but you're
better than me.
and But I will say it's always Nintendo games that make me lose my religion. That's a figure of speech for those who don't know, which means like you act unbecoming of yourself. Because I've never sweared more in my life than playing Mario Kart.
Yeah.
That meme of the cake that says sorry for the things I say during Mario Kart is completely me. 100% me.
Yeah, it looks all fun and games, but it turns us all into monsters.
Yeah, and it's just like, oh, I've been in first this whole race. I've been dominating, hitting drifts, perfect, shortcuts, everything. And then, like, God just said no. He was just like, nah, bro, not today.
Yeah, here's God. Divine intervention in the form of this blue shell. To punish you for doing well. That's literally all that thing does. It's like, I'm being punished because I'm doing well. Like, that's not fair.
Yeah, and then you're like, okay, I had a good enough lead. Oh, I'm in second now, but there's still time to catch up. And then like, oh, I got hit by a red shell. No big deal. And then like, someone just ran you over with a star, and it's just like, oh okay.
That's all it always goes to. It's never just one. It's always like an avalanche of disaster. Right? You're like, I just got hit by 5 things in a row. I used to be in first. Now I'm like next to last in seconds. How did this fall apart so quickly?
I think Mario Kart is just a giant allegory for life of how, things could change in seconds so fast.
Yeah, 2020 was basically a Mario Kart race, turns out. But when everything goes horribly wrong for you, constantly. It's like every time you move up in a place, you get hit by life throws another green shell your way. And you're right back in last. You just can't catch a break.
I don't know. I think that is the wisest thing I've heard in a while. No lie.
COVID was basically the lightning bolt because that hit everybody. So.
Beyond your years, sir. Beyond your years. Game Informer did right. They did right.
I played a lot of Mario Kart.
All right. So people, we went a little long, but real quick, we're gonna wrap up the show with our fun little segment. I said this at the beginning. We were talking about Saints Row remake just got announced, and a lot of people are mad, ironically, because it looks like Fortnite, which we were talking about earlier. So that's our full circle of today. But I'm just like, I don't know. I didn't like the original Saints Row, not because it was a bad game or nothing. I don't know. I didn't jive with it, so I'm just kind of like, whatever. It could be fun. Y'all are tripping. But also, we got Psychonauts 2 after X amount of years, over a decade. We got that. So, real quick, Marcus, what game would you love to see finally get its sequel and or a remake?
Oh, this is tricky. So, actually, to plug my own outlet, I actually wrote a magazine feature, I think 2 issues ago, that was literally a list of dormant franchises that I think should come back now that we're in a new generation of consoles. Ooh. So if I had to cherry pick one game from, I believe it was a list of 10, and this might surprise some people, but I'm going to go with X-Men Legends. Oh. Now, here's the thing, and I wrote about this. Some of you might be going, we have Marvel Ultimate Alliance, which was the successor to that series by the same team, at least the first couple. Why would I want to go back to just the X-Men when that game is the same formula, but you get everybody? And I say to that, one, the X-Men have always been large enough of a mythos to justify their own games, hence why we got those first 2 X-Men Legend games, which were awesome. But also, if you're a comic fan and you've been reading X-Men post House of X / Powers of X, everything has changed in the world of mutants. Like, everything is completely different. It has been turned on its head. I would love an X-Men Legends game that is set in the current era of mutantdom, we'll call it. And also, there's a lot of really cool mutants that will never be in those kind of broader Marvel Ultimate Alliance games that have really cool powers, like a Polaris, like a Rachel Gray. You can really dig in the crates there and pull out some really cool mutants, especially mutants that have been introduced since X-Men Legends 2 was 2007? I don't remember, something like that. 2006, 2007, maybe 2005. But yeah, bring back X-Men Legends. Give us a new one of those.
I like that choice. Mine is honestly not that niche. It's probably a game most people know. Okay, so let me preface this. You already know what it is, but let me preface this. So, I did not play the first game upon its original release, it was actually one of the first 360 arcade back when Xbox 360 started doing its thing where you can play older games. I forgot what it was,
Like
but
arcade or
yeah, this was post arcade, but like this was like when you could start playing like Banjo Kazooie and other things. I don't know if they called it a special thing, but during that era, that's actually how I played Conker's Bad Fur Day for the first time because I could not play it on 64 because my mom would never buy me that game. But I digress. So I played the original during that on the Xbox 360. Thought it was really cool. And this game had always it's a cult classic. People always clamored for a sequel. And the company, which you will know in a little bit, dropped the teaser trailer 1 year at E3 that part 2 was happening. And then you never heard from it again until this was E3 2017, I believe. 2017 or 2018. But we got the epicness that was the cinematic trailer for Beyond Good and Evil 2. I mean, chills, people. I was at the conference, Ubisoft's conference, and just chills. Because after I played the cult classic, I was like, I think a part 2 of this would be cool. It was a word that may be overused in gaming, but I will say this actually qualifies. It's a truly unique game. Beyond Good and Evil, you're a photojournalism. Jade is a photojournalist. There we go. Who fights with a bow staff like she is, I don't know, Donatello from the Ninja Turtles. And, is uncovering this government conspiracy that spans the whole globe. And, it's unique. It is a game, and especially during a time where games were starting to become formulaic. Like, and it's still unique to this day. Like, I feel like if you haven't played Beyond Good and Evil and you play it right now, you will be surprised at how it's probably one of the most unique experiences you've had in gaming.
Yeah, I can attest because I actually played it for the first time earlier this year on my Twitch channel.
Oh, how did that go?
It went well, except for that final boss fight, which has not aged well at all. It was infuriating, but other than that, I can agree. It is a very unique game with a really cool story.
Yeah, I will say during that final boss fight, it kind of throws you for a loop because you're like, is the game over or am I still fighting this thing? And the answer is you're still fighting this thing and you will die and start from the beginning.
Oh, yeah. If anyone watched me during that, like you saw live rage and bewilderment.
I won't spoil it for no one, but during the battle, things happen that makes you feel like logically I have beat this thing. The battle is over. I'm going to stop pressing buttons now.
It's very much a why is this still happening? I've already proven myself, I feel, but we're still going, huh?
Yeah, and it's cool. And so Beyond Good and Evil 2 just looked insane. I mean, I don't know what type of gameplay it was going to have, but it looked insane. We were here. We have live game footage, and then the game just magically, Ubisoft just pretended like that never happened. They pretended like they haven't showcased the damn thing.
Now, it's technically still happening. It has not been canceled. Somewhere, allegedly, there is a person in a room modeling a pig man as we speak.
I hope so. I really hope so because, it really looked. I mean, probably the gameplay and the story, it might be night and day, but who knows? I hope if that game comes out, I hope it has like Psychonauts 2 level of success where people are saying things like the original was good, but this somehow elevated it.
Maybe Microsoft has to buy Ubisoft to make it happen. It worked for Psychonauts.
Hey, nothing against Ubisoft, but they could probably that would probably help them out right now. I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna say this. This might be a controversial statement. I don't know. Depending on how good or not good Far Cry 6 is, I think Ubisoft needs to start going back to the drawing board of some of their franchises because I think they're starting to hit bedrock.
I would have said that probably 3 years ago. And it seemed like, at least with Assassin's Creed, they started addressing that with like the change, like getting away from the yearly cycle and changing to kind of the more RPG style that they've been going with the last few entries. But Far Cry is one that it seems like I've only played 3, and I really like 3. And I have not played any of the other ones I've been wanting to. It's one of those series where like, oh, I think I'll play that, and then I just never do. 6, I have that right now. I'm like, I think I'm gonna play that, and I'm hoping that will stick this time. I am genuinely curious about it. But it also, like, I think one of the reasons I played it is that I keep hearing like it's pretty. It seems like they've just been kind of copying 3's template and ad nauseum. And a lot of their games have the same design tropes of like, you gotta climb this tower and unlock the map, get all these icons and stuff, and you're like, okay, so you feel like if you played one Ubisoft game, you kind of have played them all to an extent.
To an extent. With that said, I love the Watch Dogs series, and I still have not played Watch Dogs Legion, and I kind of feel like it's almost too late. And it's not, but like
games they just added that expansion this year.
Yeah, with the zombies, and it's like, games are just so huge. Because, okay, so here's the thing. I never beat Ghost of Tsushima, so now I'm like, should I just buy the director's cut and beat it that way? Is what I think I'm leaning towards.
Yeah, I mean, depending how far you got in it. I mean, you could transfer your save either way.
Oh, okay. I got like 3 hours.
I just did it recently. Yeah, I started playing the expansion, and yeah, you could just transfer your save.
Oh, okay. Well, there we go. So I'll probably do that. But, Marcus, I want to thank you for joining me. Thank you for, especially on such short notice. It's a pleasure having you here. It's a pleasure having you here with your new fancy title. But real quick, where can the people follow you, keep up with you, see everything you're doing at Game Informer?
You can follow me on Twitter at Marcus Stewart 7. That's the number 7. And of course, GameInformer.com. It's where I work. Find me there. And excuse me, I also stream on Twitch, as I mentioned earlier. On my Twitch channel is Marcus Streams Games. It's very, very simple. It's just the thing that I do. Marcus Streams Games on Twitch. I usually stream Tuesday and Thursday nights, usually around 9 Eastern. Right now, speaking of Ghosts, on Thursdays, I've started a playthrough of the Iki Island expansion. Oh. And I think tomorrow or Tuesday, depending when this goes up, I think I'm going to start Psychonauts 2. I haven't started it yet. I think I'm gonna stream that. So should be a fun time.
I kept telling myself I was gonna play Psychonauts, the original, before 2 came out on Game Pass, and I never did. So now I'm like, I'm in panic mode. I'm like, oh crap, I gotta blast through 1 so I can enjoy 2 and see what all the hubbub's about.
Yeah, I just haven't started because I have way too many games I'm playing right now, and it's like, the last thing I need to do is start another game. But it's also Psychonauts because I played that first game at launch and I loved it.
Nice. It's never ending. It truly is. But hey, if you enjoyed the show, you can give us a follow at FC Podcast 23 on Twitter. Obviously, you know where to follow me at. And we do have a Patreon for anyone who wants to contribute. That is Full Circle Productions at patreon.com. And shout out to the Patreons: Gabriel Garcia, Rachel Coleman, Baker Rice, Ryan Frazier, Gabriel Cleveland. Love you all. Appreciate it. And the Patreon Spotlight podcast guest invitation is still open. You could be like Ryan Frazier, who joined me for a show, and be part of the Full Circle production. You support it, so why not be a part of it? But, people, you can like, share, subscribe, and leave a review for free 99. So if you're here, you enjoy the show, go ahead and do that on Apple, Google, wherever you find this podcast. Leave a comment on YouTube if you're a visual watcher. But as always, everybody, hope you enjoyed yourself. Have a great week and be blessed. Bye.